In episode number 303 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover Google's new gaming console.
We also have the latest comic book movie adaptation, and this all comes thanks to SONY Pictures with their Skyward movie announcement.
And our comic book highlight this week is Batman number 50. We will talk about the story as well as all the controversy that surrounds it.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am the almighty Emperor Kelli.
And I am Daniel.
Just Daniel?
Just Daniel.
What happened to Darth Daniel?
Gotta switch it up sometimes.
I am always an emperor, thank you. Even more so because it's my birthday month. But for those of you joining us for the first time, the way we format the show is first we start out with some news covering all those things that we just mentioned. Ace is going to play you a lovely little scratch on the rug tune while we're talking about this. And then we have our Broke Cat block, our Patreon shoutouts, and finally our comic book highlight of the week.
So kicking off the news today from your 2017 Podcast Awards nominated The Reasons I'm Broke podcast. There's a reason why I bring that up. The first thing here, according to a report from Kotaku, Google is developing a gaming console to compete with Xbox and the PlayStation.
Who cares?
You don't care? Do you think Google could actually compete with established pillars like Xbox, like PlayStation, and even Nintendo?
I battle your question with a question. Does Google's phone compete with other Android phones?
It's starting to. It definitely sells more than like the HTC, and that's because they took so many...
That's because the HTC is so inaccessible to get.
It is now. What Google did with HTC, for example, is they took a lot of developers and they bought them from HTC and said, you work on our phone. So
you
now
work
they're Google
for me
phone.
now.
Essentially. Like, if you get a Google phone, it's probably HTC quality, which is good. That's mainly what I get. I get HTC phones.
You told me it was crappy, so I got a Samsung.
The older version, yes. And then the newer one was supposed to be better, but I hadn't heard anything one way or another. But the new one, yeah, it had a lot of issues with it. But Google's actually looking to do something very similar. They're going to buy out development companies and make some really aggressive moves to launch with some competitive exclusives. And this is all according to the same report.
I mean, I guess it's cool. Whatever. To me, Google will always be a search engine. And good for them because they are now a verb for searching. So you don't say search something, you say Google something.
I think they even own YouTube and or Twitch.
I would believe that they own YouTube.
If you were to compete with a new console, we've seen it in the past. In our lifetime, we've seen a lot of consoles come and go. And I think what you have to do if you are really serious about getting into the market is doing what Google is suggesting, and that is actually going out there and getting some exclusives from these other companies, keeping games from Xbox and PlayStation to give newcomers a reason to actually invest in this console when they're already invested in a lot of the same games with PlayStation and with Xbox with the rest of their friends. I think one of the bigger moves they'd need to do is have cross-platform play open on their console so that people that do have the Google box or whatever they end up calling it, the Google Play box, now that they are able to play the same games with their friends that are on the other systems.
I do have some updated news. YouTube is in fact owned by Google.
Okay.
Because on my Samsung Galaxy S9, not my Google Pixel, because Daniel told me it was shitty, there's a little file for all the Google apps, and YouTube is in there.
There you go.
There you go. Now we know. But yes to all of that. I think this is going to be an uphill battle for them because PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, it's all so ingrained in everybody's mind as, you know, boom, these are game systems. And for Google to go, oh, now we got this Google Play dingy. I think it's going to be a pretty hard sell unless they can get some really exclusive games that look great that people are looking for.
If they really want to churn heads, in spite of what you think the games are like in recent years, they should go and say, hey, Sega, you're publishing for us now and make all of the Sonic games exclusive on Google. I know some people are like, those games are, the best ones are behind them. It's like, well, you haven't played the recent ones then, because there definitely have been a lot of recent ones, even in the last 10 years, that have been really solid Sonic games. But people like to pretend like only the Genesis were the good ones. It's like Adventure was good. Sonic Colors was great. Generations. So if they were to get Sega or the Sonic Company on there.
Something else that would be really good, a really smart move, is you make it a competitive price, so around $150, $200 range. If they could get it down to that price, you make it about that, and then you just redo nostalgic games. And now you have our entire generation purchasing this shit, because even though, yes, on some other platforms you could download it digitally, come out with stuff that hasn't been done yet, remaster that shit, put it out on your system. Yes, I would buy it all day long.
With them owning YouTube, can you think of all the different exclusive type of features and content that they can use with YouTube and integrate it into the console?
What would be great is if they were able to work out something in their system where you could stream live straight to YouTube by playing games on their system.
Yeah, you can do that now with PlayStation and Xbox, but
only with this Google.
They make it so that you can't do it anymore on the other consoles. Lazy gaming guys, that would screw them a lot. They need that for PlayStation.
They're going to have to get the Google box.
I'm sure all the fans, we will rally up, and if only they would open their donation system, then we can actually donate towards their Google Play box.
If you have the Google box, then you can donate things. I don't even know what you're talking about donating, because you know what? Who cares? I don't even have time for games ever again in my life.
Well, one game I did pre-order, in spite of me not having time for video games either, is Sega has announced a Shenmue 1 and 2 Remastered HD Edition for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, set to release next month on the 21st.
These games follow Ryo Hazuki as he sets out to avenge his father's death and attempts to unravel the secrets behind a mysterious artifact known as the Dragon Mirror.
This originally came out on the Sega Dreamcast many years ago. And I remember my friend Tim had a Dreamcast, and I watched him play this all the time, and it was so much fun. I did all the fighting portions of it, because they didn't show that in the trailer, where he's actually kicking ass, like actual gameplay of the mechanics for it. But that was the best part of it. The voice acting was awful, and we loved it. But because I never had a Dreamcast, I could never play it. They then re-released it on the Xbox, and I've never had a Microsoft gaming system, so I've never was able to play Shenmue again. But now that they're actually bringing out a remastered, there's extra controls that you can use. You can use the classic ones or updated ones to make it easier to control the game. And it also has modernized features, including changing the screen resolution to fit, what you're used to with the Dreamcast or what you're used to today. Choice of PC graphic options as well to make it extra sharp, an updated user interface, and the option to enjoy the original or English voiceovers on the game. So tons of upgrades on this one. And I think the game is $39.99, so it's not even a $60 title, and you get both titles.
So I just saw the trailer for this. I had no idea what this game was. Watched the trailer, and I had some pretty interesting thoughts about it.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Who cares? If you grew up with this, great. I'm happy that they're bringing out these games again. Game developers, game companies are starting to understand, hey, they already knew this. We can make a lot of shit ton of money with nostalgia. This sounds like it's a great nostalgia game for you. Will it live up to what it was when you played it when we were, 10? No, it was more than that. It was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time.
The Dreamcast was out. Will it live up to those standards? I don't know. I am happy that you will get to enjoy it. Leo will probably like watching you play it too.
I also pre-ordered Kingdom of Hearts 3.
What is that game?
It'll release in the year 3021-ish.
Okay, cool.
So whenever, I'm like, suckers, my credit card will be canceled by then, you fucking idiots.
So my crusty bones will I'll come back from the dead. If zombies were real, everyone would come back from the dead. And they're like, oh my god, they want our brains. And we're like, no, we want Kingdom Hearts 3.
Did you ever see the South Park episode where Cartman froze himself so that he can play the Nintendo Wii?
Yes.
It was taking way too long for the game to release the console, and then he went too far, and it ends up being like Richard Dawkins. They all worship Richard Dawkins, and then they evolved. Were they beavers or platypuses? I think it was platypuses.
I don't remember.
And it's just like this war of animals, and he's like, I just wanted to play the Wii, and I think at that point they weren't even around or something. I forgot there was like a way that he couldn't also play the Wii in the future. Really, really. That's what's gonna. They should make one of those episodes for Kingdom of Hearts 3.
I still don't know what this game you're talking about. There's a Kingdom Hearts 3, not this fake news game.
On episode 300, you are quoted as audio perfect evidence of you calling it Kingdom of Hearts. And it was great. And I remembered it and I caught it. I timestamped it and it's in episode 300.
Why would you do that to me?
Because I wanted to make sure this was the best episode yet.
Your wife and your emperor. And you are supposed to love and respect me. I'm sure that was in our vows that I can't remember.
So have you called it the yes or no?
In the next bit of news that we have here, because you can do English or Japanese things for this game. Have we already discussed that?
Yeah, we talked about that.
All right. Well, moving on to some CW television news. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sure I've never said that about that game. After the excitement that came with the debut of the DC Universe trailer app, CW Seed put out a video that reminded everyone that you can already stream some exclusive DC content with them.
CWC getting a little jealous there.
Yeah. Ooh, we have some too.
Well, that's what's funny is everyone's excited. Like, I can't wait to stream this exclusive DC content. And CWC's like, we've had that. You can stream DC right now. Actually, when I saw this news story break, and I was like, you know what? Let me see what's on there. And sure enough, the Constantine animated special is on there with Matt Ryan reprising his role. There's also a bunch of other animated shows based on the CW universe, like Vixen, like Freedom Fighters, The Ray, and of course, Constantine's City of Demons.
City of Demons. Is it that one?
I've never heard that song.
You know that song, City of Stars, na 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 na, from La La Land?
It's been a while since I've seen it.
Oh my goodness. How do I remember a movie thing and you don't? So, they also host the entire first season of NBC's Constantine live-action show and 2002's Birds of Prey.
I started watching a little bit of Birds of Prey because I had never had the chance to see it. I've seen the opening on YouTube, and this is the one. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I've heard of it.
Do you know who the characters are in it?
No, I forgot.
So Dinah Lance, or Black Canary's daughter, is in it. Also, Helena Wayne, who is Batman and Catwoman's child, which clearly does not happen in the comics, and you'll hear why.
Stop! You're making me sad already.
Also, Harley Quinn is the villain in the show. So there's a live-action Harley Quinn, and they're all like sent out on these missions by Barbara Gordon, who plays Oracle as she's stuck on the wheelchair. And throughout the season, they reveal that she's working on a type of chip to help her walk again. So I'm assuming at some point, and maybe it does happen in season 1, but maybe it was going to happen, they're going to make the actor walk, right? They're going to have her walking around. So that was going to be a plot point in it. But the main thing is, Harley Quinn is trying to take over Gotham after the Joker has been put away in Arkham.
Interesting. We haven't seen it yet, right?
I've just seen the first couple of episodes. It's like a CW show. Yeah, I mean, she's not really acting like Harley Quinn. She does the psychiatrist thing, and they do dye her hair because the actor is a brunette. But what they end up doing, she's not really doing the voice. She does call him Mr. J, but it's more like just a serious woman type of role.
Right.
Like ever since they put away my Mr. J instead of making her bubbly. So they changed the personality quite a bit, but it's still kind of neat to see it. And even in the opening sequence, you do see Barbara Gordon in her Batgirl outfit, and it does look like a comic accurate presentation of it. It's pretty neat.
Okay. Well, good for CW reminding us all that is there. So if you can't wait for the DC app, you can get the CW Seed app, watch some of those things. I'm sure some of those shows will transition over into the DC app as well.
It's all free, too.
On CW?
Yeah. All of this is free.
What? Now I just need time. Who wants to come watch my child?
What do you want to watch?
I don't know. Leo does watch The Bachelorette with me, though. He doesn't care, but...
So he's like, who cares?
That's what he does. He's like, oh, a dog. And then he chases the dog.
So here we have some news from Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn. He recently tweeted out about the rabid Star Wars fan base who recently drove Last Jedi's Kelly Marie Tran off social media after constant harassment.
Beach ants.
So
the quote here is, Star Wars or any movie may be important to you, but it doesn't belong to you. If your self-esteem depends on how good you think the current Star Wars is, or your childhood is ruined because you don't like something in a movie, go to therapy. End quote.
I told you James Gunn was a pretty cool guy. He's probably the coolest of the MCU directors.
He's really cool. What did he direct in MCU?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's right. That was just there. Listen, hashtag mommy brain. We enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy, so that's fine. If it was like Ant-Man, I'd been like, no.
It's like, shut up. Stop tweeting.
That's pretty cool that he came and stood up for her, though.
There's actually, do you know about the whole controversy on that particular movement of Star Wars fans?
Sort of. Go ahead and explain it for the people who don't know.
So a lot of them are upset that they are diversifying these movies, and they have like a screenshot of this particular group on Facebook, and their whole like celebration statement of them leaving and them being gone.
Are they all white?
Probably.
All right.
They're actually campaigning for, quote, straight white males to be, end quote, the protagonist again in Star Wars.
They're all
instead
white.
of probably instead of like the diverse nature of these last two movies, which do feature a female protagonist. It features Kelly Marie Tran as well. You've got Finn. You've got Poe Dameron, who's Hispanic. So it's like the only white guy in the movie.
Hispanic and gay.
Of course, he's in love with Finn.
Yes. Okay.
is Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. So they're not seeing themselves represented in these movies. Kylo Ren,
he's a weird looking white man.
He is. Yeah, he's in there. He's the villain, but maybe not. We don't really know how these movies are going to play out. But they're upset by all of this. And one of the things that they are trying to do is change and remake this whole trilogy that they're trying to make. There's a remake, The Last Jedi, like completely reshoot it movement and campaign behind that. And they celebrated her being taken off social media as a win to them. Like they're actually making a change in Star Wars. Now, the one thing that I will say, like, if I were, like, I'm not that big into Star Wars, so I really don't care. I saw the last two movies and I'm like, yep, they were Star Wars movies. They're not cinematic masterpieces. Like these people are on Lazy Gaming Guys, they were saying that there was like a reviewer that called them a cinematic abortion, and I made the joke, and it's the one joke I'm going to make this episode, but I was like, have you guys seen the MCU? Like, that's the cinematic abortion. I'm done. No more. No more bashing the MCU.
Until the next topic.
But it's like, these aren't really cinematic masterpieces. Even episode 4, as much as you may think, like, no, that should be one of the best movies. No, it really isn't. Like, there's a lot of references in there to older movies, and it's like, relax, guys. This isn't, like, it hit the perfect time. It was different enough, and now it's nostalgic, so it continues and continues to blow up. But to be this upset, to make it your mission to change these different actors, and I think it's kind of ridiculous. The thing you should do is vote with your dollar, in which they did with Han Solo. And they're saying that, okay, these Star Wars movies either need to change or something needs to happen. But I think when Episode 9 releases, if those box office returns aren't what Disney expects, then maybe you will see a movement towards a more traditional Star Wars with Episode 10, 11, and 12.
And that's exactly right. Again, like we've said over and over and over, vote with your dollar. You going out and bashing these people and getting them off social media and just being angry and belligerent online, that doesn't change fucking anything. That just makes people angry and makes people like us talk about you on our podcast and say what a beach ant you are for being a jerk.
One of the bloggers was asking, so who's the more toxic fan base, Star Wars fans or DCEU fans? And he got fucking flooded with DCEU fans. Like, fucking Zack Snyder had to come out and give details about his daughter's suicide because he knew bloggers like you would be bashing him for leaving Justice League. I don't know if you remember when they covered that story. If it had just been Zack Snyder stepped down and Joey Whedon has taken over to ruin Justice League, then they would have said, aha, he got fired. But the fact that he had to come out and say, look, this is why I'm stepping down from these reshoots is my daughter committed suicide. And it's because these fucking bloggers, and many of them still made the fucking joke of like, good and fucking nonsense. It's like, you guys, you motherfuckers are the toxic fans, or not even fans, they're the toxic crowd in this whole thing. It's the bloggers, then the Star Wars fans, and then, like, many other fucking, like, Star Trek, maybe? Like, any other fan base. Like, the DCU, people pointed out on Twitter, and it's like, we just want the Snyder Cut if it exists, but we're not going there and getting upset over minorities showing up in movies like they are with Star Wars. We just want the directors to have their vision and put it out there. So it's such a different and weird comparison that suddenly the blogger was like, I'm being I'm being surrounded by all these fans and I should have never said anything. He immediately put out the fucking victim card.
You shouldn't have said anything. You
fucking
just
victim.
Kept your fucking mouth shut.
Such a funny question. I even told like my coworker, I was like, can you believe that? And he's like, no, I mean, like I hear what you say about the DC movies, but it's like, that's not all you guys really talk about is the Snyder Cut. You're not really going after like minority actors and driving them off Instagram like on Star Wars.
Why is the internet so angry? Like, the internet is great. There's so much that we can do with it. And we're just sitting here being jerks to each other.
Well, don't worry. We're going to end on an angry note on today's episode with Batman number 50. So you can hear us be irrational and you will see that.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go to therapy. DC Entertainment is working on putting together TV commercials for Brian Michael Bendis' upcoming Superman run. Very anticipated after Man of Steel finally finished up its miniseries with issue number 6. It seems like most readers are like, all right, Superman's in good hands right now, so let's see where he goes with it.
We do have a quote from Bendis who tweeted, quote, just approved a cut for the TV commercial at DC Comics is gearing up for our Superman titles this summer. It's the kind of promotion stores have been asking publishers to do for years. So exciting. Promotion, outreach, end quote.
I'm very curious what this is. What kind of promotion are they doing?
I don't know. Something Superman. You would know better than I am, Mr. Comic Store.
Well, that's what I'm trying to think of. It's like, what are they... I mean, the only thing I can sort of maybe ask that they put in there is like a link to Comic Shop Locator. I don't know if you know about the website comicshoplocator.com, and you type in your zip code and it'll bring up all the local shops in your area. So if they put that at the end of the commercial, that'll work. And I think they already do that with some of them, but if they make it more prominent, I think that'll definitely help out retailers. Aside from making like area or regional exclusive commercials for, hey, pick up a copy at, insert, comic shop here.
Right.
Like maybe that'll work that way. But I guess what I would say personally, if they gave us more tools to mess around with their commercials and to make it more personal so that we can share it on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, that would make me happy personally as the guy that handles the media portion of the shop.
That would be really smart too, because you would have a bigger outreach then. So by just having a regular commercial, yes, some places might repost it on Facebook, but if you could have a commercial that has your comic shop at the end, here's the address, here's how to get in touch with us, that gives retailers so much more control, and they'd want to post it more. They would want to throw that out there. Not saying that they wouldn't, because they're going to get people in regardless, but throw it everywhere. I don't know where I'm going with this. I was going someplace.
Where I'm going with this is you should do a voiceover for one of the commercials, but not that one in particular.
You want me to do a
like
voiceover?
the Emperor, like, it might be good.
Guys, pick up this comic. It's going to be great.
I think Kellogg's might have something to say about that.
This is your Emperor. Pick it up, or else.
Pick it up now. Just do your Batman.
You do a better Batman than I don't do a good Batman.
Do your Emperor then.
This is Batman.
Now.
I always wanted to do voiceover work, but I don't think I'm cut out for it.
As I always say, you got to be an actor for that. Like, a lot of people think it's just, you got to do a good impression. It's like, no, you got to be an actor.
You got to be able to act, yeah. You got to be able to emote with your words,
exactly.
Not just your face. And I don't think I can do that either.
Most recently, a Dark Knight's Metal commercial recently aired on AMC, Sci-Fi, TBS, TNT, and True TV.
You were supposed to encourage me and say, yes, Kelly, you can do whatever you want to do. But that's fine. Yes, those are all the places that commercial came out. And who cares about that book? Title this episode, Kelly Doesn't Care. Who cares?
Let's see if this next story gets you. So, SONY Pictures, as we mentioned earlier, has optioned the Image Comics series Skyward for a film with Rampage's director, Brad Peyton.
You want to know who cares? I care.
Finally, Jesus Christ.
Because Skyward was written by the co-producer for, what show is that?
Lucifer.
That's the Lucifer song, for those of you who don't know.
As you mentioned, it is created by Lucifer's co-showrunner, Joe Henderson, with art by Lee Garbett. Skyward is being adapted for film by Henderson himself. So you've got the writer himself actually doing what I'm assuming is going to be the screenplay for the film.
Henderson and Payton are producing it. Did you just say that?
No,
I just miss
he's
that?
writing
Perfect. So he is producing the film alongside Rampage producer Jeff Fearson.
Yeah,
Fierson.
2017 Podcast Awards nominated podcast Tight Ship. We have a quote here from Payton who said, quote, Jeff and I are focused on making event films regardless of budget or scope. Skyward is a big one. We're very excited to deliver on what an anti-gravity movie should deliver on and be working with Joe Henderson on this, end quote.
I'm just trying to give you more ammo for episode number 400.
Apparently. I'm trying to nab us, along with the rest of the Brokehead Corey, 2018, not only a nomination, but an award for the Podcast Awards, a win this year.
I would love that as well.
Just shaking my head. Just shaking my head.
I am so excited for this movie. I've only read issue 1 so far, but it's really good. It has a great premise, and I think it will adapt very well into film.
I told people at the shop and right here on the podcast, we told people, get Skyward number 1. It's a good story. I told people at the shop when I was doing my new comic book day video, like, this is really good. It's about gravity being a minimum in the future and humans having to adapt to it, not only in their daily lives, but in how they grow crops and what weapons they use when they go to war, how many people they lose. Now they pee into the air and it just goes up into space. Like, that's just what you do. Like, it's gone. It's up there. It's like, what else? Where else would you go? Right? Just let it go up into the sky.
Sure.
So it's such a crazy good premise, and the story is awesome. You're following this character who already has tragedy in her past. She's trying to solve this mystery that her dad trying to fix the world again, and you have this evil corporation behind it with her dad's best friend. There's so much here, so much material for the readers to chew on, and I said, check it out. It's good. Maybe I'll check it out. Now it's a movie. Everyone's trying. All the speculators fucking came out of the woodwork.
Of course,
like,
they
you have
did.
first prints of Skyward number 1. Oh, why? Because you want to read it?
Yeah,
no, they're all
at
gone.
my house because I was smart enough to buy it.
I fucking bought it from day one. B-chance.
B-chance.
This is how you do it. Like, people sometimes ask me, like, which comic do I buy that is going to be worth money? I'm like, Silver Age books is all I can say, because everything else, it's like, you have to have a fucking crystal ball, and I'm not here to help you invest. Like, read what you like, and if it's worth something, great. Like, that's the only way you should go about it.
Of course, but people are collectors. Not everyone is as passionate. Not everyone is as passionate as you are. Are we seeing this movie opening day?
Absolutely. What kind of budget is this going to need to have anti-gravity fucking hair going all over the place, all the CGI of cars up in the air?
Yeah.
It's going to be nuts.
I don't even know, but hey, give them whatever they want. I
haven't seen Rampage. I wanted to because of I played the original video games and Dwayne The Rock Johnson was in it.
Me too. I was always a lizard man.
Liz, the only girl.
Whatever, lizard man. I'm a girl, Daniel. I did not research as much into it.
I always played the wolf, and then
of course
on the N61. Why is that?
Because you're wolf in the other Smash fighting game.
Yeah, but that was after Rampage.
That's probably why you're wolf in the Smash fighting game. Anyway, continue.
Did you play the N64 one or the arcade N64 one? Did you ever turn into Vernon, like the flying bat thing?
Yeah,
yes, that was the
my
best.
favorite. And I was like, blah, blah.
Did you fucking take down buildings with one fucking blow?
That's what you did with your wings.
I don't know if Vernon is actually in the movie, and you guys can spoil it for me and let me know on Twitter. But I want Vernon to show up in Rampage, maybe even in the sequel. I don't know if that's with all the different destruction and CGI that probably went into Rampage, this probably is a good director for Skyward and someone that can direct these kind of scenes of just the world essentially going into a mini apocalypse with gravity just going out the window. It
would. Like, how many people die? You just see them float into space. They're gone.
I like how in the recent issue, there's just corpses up in space, and they are a ring on the earth of just garbage and corpses. What's gonna happen when gravity returns?
I haven't read the issue, so thank you for spoiling.
It's one panel.
You spoiled it.
Jesus
I could have been reading it, and I could have been like, oh shit, Daniel, did you know that there's a ring of corpses and garbage? But now I can't do that anymore.
Well, I won't spoil what happens if gravity returns. Like, all these fucking...
More people are gonna die because fucking bodies, frozen-ass bodies. Actually, they'll probably burn up in the atmosphere.
Yeah, that's fucking true. Yeah, you're right. They'll burn up.
Hashtag school bus science. Throwing it at you.
The atmosphere... Is that affected by gravity? Like, I'm ignorant on that. Like, do you need gravity for that kind of strong atmosphere to where things do burn up?
No.
Okay.
Because other planets have less gravity and they still have an atmosphere.
That's true. It's all about the gas and the temperature of the...
So, I mean, technically, going back into space, these things probably would have burned up on the way out.
Really?
Right?
Like, I don't know. I still don't know. I have no idea. So maybe this comic is lying to us.
Maybe. Oh,
Damn it,
maybe
comics.
not.
Do they decompose in space? Do things decompose?
No, because it's below freezing temperatures. They freeze.
Okay.
All right. Just frozen. Done.
So they definitely need to get rid of all these corpses in some way.
Yes. They'll burn up on re-entry, I would imagine. Because when the gravity... So let me rephrase that. Maybe I got to research the atmosphere. Someone on Twitter can chime in and like school me with this fifth grade
Neil
science.
deGrasse Tyson, if you're listening, please chime in.
Please let me know.
Send me a DM.
Probably when they left, they did not burn up because they weren't moving quickly enough. But when they re-enter, they will burn up because they're moving very fast and the friction will blow up.
Assuming gravity doesn't get like turned on like a switch, if they gradually turn on gravity, then they're fucked.
Then they got corpses everywhere. Yes.
And then garbage and piss and all kinds of nonsense.
Shit just falling on people. That frozen shit would crush cars.
Probably.
Oh man, they'd have cars falling on people too? Oh no. I don't want to live in that world.
So a bulk of our podcast is probably going to be our review for Batman number 50. That is our news for this week. Let's head into the BroCat block and talk about what are these the Podcast Awards 2018 and what we're trying to do this year.
So we did sign up for the Podcast Awards. We were the 2017 nominated, reasons I'm broke, for the Podcast Awards.
Yeah, last year for Games and Hobbies, the BroCat Core came through and they said, here you go, here's your nomination for Games and Hobbies. And then it was up to voters from that point, which were a select number of voters. When you do go for the nomination period, you can check off if you want to be considered to be a voter for the Podcast Awards. And then from there, them and a panel at the Podcast Awards, I forgot who exactly runs them, but they decide who the winners are in each category. So last year we did get that nomination, and huge thanks to the BroCat Core, but there was disappointment when we did not win on their Games and Hobbies. And this year, like, BroCat Core members were ready. They're like, fucking this time we're gonna get it for sure.
Son of a bitches.
So they are already, the nomination period is open, everyone. If you've ever enjoyed the podcast, if you do think that, you know what, this is one of the Games and Hobbies podcasts I do enjoy, head on over to, there's going to be a link in the show notes if you haven't seen the many spammy tweets that I've already put out on Twitter. Of thepodcastawards.com. Click on nominations are open, and from there it just needs an email to verify that you aren't trying to scam the system, because they have had that issue in years past of people creating multiple accounts and then trying to vote multiple times as one person. So in this case, they do require an email. They send you a verification code. You plug that right in, and then you can vote on all of the different award categories, which we are in 2 of them. We are in Games and Hobbies and also People's Choice. So if you get the chance, not only Games and Hobbies, but also People's Choice, you can log back in. If you're like, oh shit, I didn't know about that. Log back in and you can actually update your nomination and just find us under People's Choice, and you can click on there and also nominate us, which would be really, really great. They only have until this month, though. At the very end of July is the very last day for nominations, and then next month is when the voting period begins. And then it's just like, all right, let's hope that people vote for our podcast. And if not, right now the goal is 2018 Podcast Awards nominated the Reasons I'm Broke podcast under Games and Hobbies and People's Choice. So let's get there, BroCat Core. I know you guys are hungry. We're hungry for this award, and hopefully we do get it this year.
We were very honored by your nomination last year. Let's make it happen again. It's a very easy process. Takes about 5 minutes to make your account, sign up, get that email, and vote.
The Emperor demands.
I demand. I humbly ask.
Is that doesn't sound like the Emperor to me.
You get more things by asking than demanding.
Even the Emperor?
Yes, because I could demand that we just win
Too easy, right?
This is too easy. So I humbly ask that you do this for us. Us tired podcasters.
Plus Leo, little baby counts. Do it for the baby.
Little baby, do it for the baby.
Do it for the baby.
Little tiny little Leo that I have been up with for days because of a cold and teeth.
Mm-hmm.
I am tired. And the 2 hours out of my week I get to be a childless parent, I spend podcasting for you all.
That sounds like a podcast awards nominee winner. Sounds like a winner to me.
Sounds like a winner to me too.
If we win, we will get the extra trophy, and that will be for the Broquette Core. That rhymes. That will be for, say it with me,
the Broquette Core. But it will sit on our mantle.
Until we eventually one day we'll get to Patreon goal number 18, and we can have a museum dedicated to the Broquette Core, where the centerpiece will be the trophy itself.
Where are we gonna have this museum?
We'll figure that out fucking later. I don't know.
Where are we gonna?
We'll buy an island.
Oh, really? With
Patreon goal number 18. I think they're cheap, right? Like it's just a little volcano that kind of. They make new little islands because it's like, well, here you go. They probably won't exist next year. Sea levels?
Did you not watch the Magic School Bus episode on islands?
I did not.
Volcanoes,
sea level is rising, right?
I mean, it is, but volcanoes don't just make islands.
they kind of do.
No. You know what you can make islands out of?
What?
Water bottles.
Fine.
Take old-ass water bottles and strap them all together and make a cool-ass island.
There we go.
But you know what? Hurricanes and sharks. I don't want to live on no tiny ass island.
So before we head into our Patreon shoutouts of the week, how was your week, Emperor?
It was very good. I started school. I already mentioned that. Did my first assignments.
Very nice.
I completed them before they were due.
Is there a class clown yet?
No, but there's only one man in the whole class. But we're all parents.
What class are you taking?
This is, I don't know, they sign it up. I like this school because they just tell me what I'm taking. There's none of that nonsense like, oh, I need to take this one and I might take this one and let's see what's open. They just assign you and they say, this is the order, take them. And I say, thank you. But it's, because the school's all online, they make you take a course where they teach you how to succeed in online school. So you learn about your learning style. You learn about how to manage your time, work-life balance, and get all this stuff done, which is really great because that's what I need. And I find myself already drifting back into my old habits of why I failed school in the first place. So I have to be like, stop it, Kelly. Do your work and push myself forward. So that's what I'm taking for this first class. It's pretty simple so far. It's just a lot of like reading and writing responses to people and things. But I got all my work done for this week, so I am proud of myself.
Very nice.
In the right direction. And I aced both of my quizzes.
Yeah, just keep it up. Keep it going. That's the tough part is right near the end. That's where most people drop off and fall. So this is the easy part. That's
why I'm glad that it's just a 5-week course. Because it's not like I have a million weeks. I'm usually good for the first 5 weeks and then I get shitty. so we're good there. So I did that. I started a new job on Sunday.
Nice.
That's exciting.
A new position.
Yes, or a new
area.
location.
Yeah.
A new location. Same position, new location. I discovered webtoons, comics. Mm-hmm. Those are a thing. I'm just reading love stories all day long.
And Leo has his first top tooth now coming through.
One little twofers, and it's so cute. And he had a cold.
Yeah, that's the tragedy of this story is he got his very first cold at almost 9 months old.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
That's great.
Awesome Aquaman genes right there on that little baby.
Only lasted about a day. It was only really bad for a day.
Speak for yourself. I don't know what you were remembering.
He coughed for 2 days, and then we took him to the doctor.
And he wouldn't sleep for several days.
That was probably also the teeth and the cough.
Okay. Well, it sounded like it was mainly because he got really warm. So I figured that was still that's when he really started to get sick.
Probably. Okay, so like 3 days. And then he was really, really sick one day. And then I came home and I just snuggled him and gave him some cough medicine and put up the humidifier. And he woke up the next day like a new baby. like he was born again. And he was just like, ee! And running around the house.
When I took him to the doctor, he was, kind of grabbing at, the different, what do they call it? Stethoscope?
Yes.
He was kept trying to grab at that. And also the ear thing.
To check the ears, yes.
Yeah. And then the doctor was like, yeah, wow, he's really strong. And I'm like, that once again, my fucking strong ass baby, strong ass genetics. The second compliment by the 2 doctor recommended strong ass Leo. Like, we can put that on him.
We're going to tattoo that on him somewhere.
Like 100% of doctors have said that, wow, that's a strong baby.
Yeah.
Wow, he held up his head. He's holding his head already. And he was hours old. Like
he
hours.
was minutes old and he was lifting his head.
That's true. It wasn't even an hour
minutes.
Yet. He was minutes old.
They pulled him out.
And he was early.
Put him on me and he was looking around. He was 9 days early. Imagine if he had been full term.
No, he would have been crawling in that fucking room.
Like crawl right at me like, you're How was your week?
Oh, you know what? July 4th.
Yeah.
The huge comic book day of Cosmic Ghost Rider #1, Batman #50, and Captain America #1. I ended up choosing to be open full hours. May have been a mistake because we were open till 8 p.m. and at 6 p.m. it just dropped dead. Like there was no one around. And it's like, all right, now people are at barbecues, they're at parades, they're at the lakes to watch fireworks.
Yeah, it's a lot of lakes down here.
So that's, I think next year, like I'm debating, halfway debating because it's like, okay, so next year do I want to be open full hours knowing that it's like, most people are like, okay, they're open full hours on the 4th of July. Or do I want to say, no, let's close at 6 or 7 and say these are our 4th of July hours. What ended up happening is most of our subscribers are Wednesday Warriors. Came in a lot earlier than they normally do. One, because they assumed that we were going to be closed early, even though I put up all over Instagram and Facebook, but not everyone has that we were open full hours. But they came in earlier because of that, and also because they were headed to family functions, family reunions, friends' houses, barbecues, where they needed to be there by like 3 p.m. So I was slammed before 12:30 p.m. I was like, holy shit. Like, it was really busy. I had a line, and I killed that line because, I'm like, boom, boom, boom. Like, I'm a pro at this shit. Like, I'm counting money quickly and checking 50s and checking 100s. I'm doing my thing, giving them their stamps, giving them their perks. Here you go. Here's your receipt. Here's your change. Killing it like usual. But it's like, yeah, no, it's really, really busy. Most of my Wednesday people that I normally don't see till like maybe 3, 4, 5 are here at 10, 11.
Wow.
I'm like, damn. Like, it's great, but it's also like, all right, I underestimated. Like, next year, maybe I'll have my part-timer and I actually open and close and just be on shorter hours. I might end up doing that. But people were excited about the Batman wedding, which we couldn't do a big thing about, and we'll talk about that when we get to the review. Cosmic Ghost Rider sold incredibly well.
Awesome.
The Archer variant for Catwoman #1 still sells really well. I ended up making sure I ordered tons of extra copies. Extra copies of the Jim Lee variant for Batman #50 still selling because, again, I ordered a ton of extras. And also, Captain America 1 actually did well, not in the main cover issue, but in the variants, which I was really surprised about. Like, that's the one that I'm like, okay, that's probably going to be the weakest selling, and it was, but it sold way better than I still expected it to sell. And then on top of that, we have a lot of the 4th of July shoppers. They came in, of course. So once again, shoppers or comic shops that chose to be closed on 4th of July, you lost out on thousands of dollars, guys. Sorry. Like, better luck next time. Next year, you better be open on the 4th of July because it was one of our best Wednesdays. Not only because we had 3 huge books on this day, but there are 4th of July shoppers that are going out and they are shopping.
And that was Daniel's PSA for the week.
Stay fucking open on the 4th of July. Maybe not full hours, but open your fucking stores. Make money. Fucking make money. I was open on Easter this year, and I had a really strong Sunday. It's like, fucking be open for these holidays. Do it.
And that does wrap up what happened in our week this week. But we're going to move into our Patreon shoutouts.
First Patreon shout out goes out to Brian on Twitter at BrianShaup1, who has been the true Mogo of the Brocat Corps by favoriting, retweeting, and replying to our podcast awards tweets.
Thank you, Brian.
And I've put out a lot of those tweets, and he's gone in there and been like, that's right, get the word out there. And he's put up a couple of GIFs of Mogo, of the giant lantern out there in space. Like, yes, the Brocat Corps truly is powerful. The Brocat Corps truly is hungry.
Yes. Every time you say hungry, I'm like, I am hungry.
You're hungry for an award,
and,
Kelly.
And some cookies.
Award.
Cookie awards. Next up, we have Christian, whose Twitter handle is at Rocketman_131.
He retweeted the Robin costume, which came straight out of the Titans TV Universe streaming show that should be launching, I believe, late this year or early next year.
Did we see his butt?
No butt shot.
Then
Not a single butt shot.
I'm not buying it till we see that butt shot.
What'd you think of the costume that they revealed for Titans?
It was cool. I vaguely remember it, and I'm sure you showed it to me.
It looks straight out of Batman v Superman, is what a lot of people have been pointing out. Like, it looks exactly like it should be in a movie instead of a TV show. People have been photoshopping his pose and putting him next to the Batfleck, gargoyle shot. So it's like, that's how good this costume truly looks. And people have even pointed out that there's like some costume patterns in the chest piece of the Robin costume that it looks like there's a Nightwing symbol somewhere in there. And I don't know if you remember, but as shitty as Batman and Robin was, his costume in those movies was basically the New 52 Nightwing. You saw like that same red logo on the chest.
I am happy that they're putting money and effort into the show. I know that we had some hesitations in the beginning when they first revealed the characters, but this looks like it's a step in the right direction.
Next shout out goes out to Kat on Instagram at Katsha, Kattsha.
She's shared some 4th of July photography and wedding shots she took recently. They're beautiful. They make me want to start photography again. Won't happen, but I can dream.
You sort of can. I mean, a lot of these, that's the nice thing about these cameras on the new phones is the aperture, or what did you used to, is that what
aperture,
it is?
Yes.
Like, aren't these higher now than the camera that you got?
Yes, they are.
There you go. Like
the megapixels, and the cool thing about these is they adjust the aperture automatically. I don't have to worry about it. So I can get low light pictures better on my camera or on my cell phone, but my nicer camera can still take nicer pictures, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. The final shout out goes out to Kyle on Twitter at KyleInch.
Kyle had a parenting success. His daughter ate a homegrown cucumber with red hummus. He has confirmed that she will indeed eat her veggies.
Congratulations,
That is
Kyle.
a win right there.
That is amazing. I hope Leo doesn't have, he will, but I hope he doesn't have that issue of like, just try it, Leo. Just try it. And he already likes avocados.
Yes, loves them.
He loves peas. He loves carrots. And his favorite thing is sweet potatoes.
Yes, he loves sweet potatoes. He also loves butternut squash and pears mixed together. That's his other favorite. He really likes avocados. There's very few things he does not like. Broccoli. Hates broccoli. That's
really weird because we both like broccoli, right?
I love broccoli. When I was a baby, I skipped baby food and went straight to just mushy broccoli. That's what I ate. But he hates it. I've tried it several times and but his taste, they'll change as he gets older.
He's being a baby.
He loves potatoes. He loves rice.
Rice is amazing. That would have been weird.
He likes quinoa.
Quinoa is also fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm. He likes lots of things.
So one whiff out of all those things is not bad at all. Not bad, Leo, and congratulations, Kyle, on your parenting success. Huge thanks to the rest of our Patreon backers. If you too would like your shout out every single month, if the show is worth 25 cents an episode, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimebroke for as little as $1 a month. You too can get your shout out right here on the episode on the show.
But if you guys say, you know what, I can't support you monetarily, there are other ways you can support us. You can actually leave us a voicemail. We can feature you on the podcast. Head to speakpipe.com/thereasonsimebroke, or there's a link in the description, and you can leave us a 30-second voicemail. Let us know what you think of the show, what you enjoy about it, things that you want us to talk about right there with your voice on our show. It's like you're one of the hosts as well.
Pretty much like a guest show. It's actually 90 seconds. So you have triple the time that you thought you had 5 seconds ago. Triple the time. Speakpipe.com/thereasonsimebroke, and let us know what you thought of Batman number 50, for example. If you're a reader or a retailer, we will feature you on next week's show.
But that does wrap up our Patreon shoutouts. With that, we can head into our very controversial comic book highlight of the week.
Our comic book highlight this week is Batman number 50, the very anticipated wedding issue that DC has been pushing a lot, that your local comic shop has probably been pushing for months. We've had the tie-in issues of the Prelude to the Wedding comic books. We've had the many variant covers, not only the retail exclusive ones, but also the ones through DC Comics. So this was, for all intents and purposes, billed as the wedding issue for Batman and Catwoman. You being a Batcat fan, we're very much looking forward to issue number 50 of Batman.
I absolutely was. And of course, guys, this is a spoiler-filled review. So if you hadn't read this issue, if you haven't heard anything about this issue, if you don't want to hear anything about this issue, this is where you need to stop listening. Not that our voices aren't still phenomenal, but we will be spoiling this issue because there's a lot of things to say about it.
Batman number 50 is written by Tom King with art by Mikel Janin, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Lee Bermejo, Mitch Gerrits, Jim Lee, Lee Weeks, Amanda Connor, Paul Pope, Tim Sale, and many, many more. This was like an annual issue.
Yes, there were
Batman
extra
50.
pages. You had, essentially, in a nutshell, this is letters written by Batman and Catwoman leading up to the wedding, letters to each other, and each little bit of the letter is emphasized by a picture of the two of them done by these different artists.
The letters to each other of Batman and Catwoman are essentially their history, their shared thoughts of when they first saw one another, what made, for example, Catwoman different from every other villain, every other thug that Batman has put away and ran into. And Catwoman, the same way, outlines the difference that is Batman compared to every other man that she has also come across, that she has stolen from, that has tried to stop her too.
They're beautiful letters. They're very heartfelt and warm, and it's a shame that this book went where it did because this really could have been a beautiful issue that brought me to tears, and unfortunately, it just kind of all got ruined.
The essential parallels between Batman and Catwoman in this issue are that Alfred acts as the companion, the partner to Batman, and Holly Robinson, who appeared in Batman Year One. Very classic character in Catwoman's history, very instrumental, especially now that we're getting Batman number 50, is essentially her, best
witness.
maid?
Her witness.
Her witness. And then in the opposite side, Batman asks Alfred to be his witness, and Batman is sheepish about it because he's like, he says, should I call Clark? Should I call Master Dick? And Batman says, I actually was wondering if you're not too busy, if you can be the witness, because Alfred, I can't do anything without you. And Alfred fucking breaks down, and you can just tell, gives him a hug, but his face is buried in Bruce's shoulder, so you know Alfred is crying out of just joy,
of course,
and value and happiness. And it's like, of course, Alfred is the precious thing. It's like, that's the one character that even you are like, if he doesn't approve of Catwoman, he could not approve of Catwoman. That's totally okay.
Right. Alfred can do what he wants.
And he can also Batman the Animated Series, Alfred can sleep with who he wants. You remember how many hoes he had in the Animated Series?
Like so many. 3.
I like the one that he was annoyed with all the time, but it's like, he still stuck around. It's like, she must be good in bed because everything else he hates about her. That's the one where it was called it wasn't Pretty Poison, but it was the one where they went off on this retreat that was run by Poison Ivy, and she would turn people into trees. That I thought was hilarious because it's a
great episode.
Really, really good. But on the opposite end, Holly Robinson actually ends up acting as the doubt in Catwoman's mind. This slight seed of doubt. You can hear Leo now. he's here and in charge.
He came for the last bit of the podcast.
Holly Robinson plants that seed of doubt in Selena Kyle's mind of, he is only great because he is as strong and sharp as he is Batman, because he transforms his hurt and his anger and his pain and makes it into what ends up helping Gotham. And she says, so you turning him happy takes that away, don't you think? And that's enough for Catwoman to, according to Tom King, say, I love you so much, and love is about sacrifice, that I will sacrifice my love for you and my relationship with you so that I can keep your Gotham engine running of you transforming pain and hate and anger, because otherwise I'm taking all of that away and you won't be Batman. And that's the constant thing of like, Batman cannot be happy. Batman can't be Batman unless he is suffering, because as she supposedly calls him, you are just a hurt child deep down.
This part really bothered me, and I've raved about Tom King up until this point.
As of last week, you were like, oh, Tom King.
Yeah, as of last week, I was like, Tom King is the best. And I'm not as mad about this issue having read it as when you described it to me. I was very angry when you told me what happened, because for those of you who know, what was the New York Times?
Yes.
Leaked what happened, and I didn't know.
Days ahead
of time. And then you told me, and then I was like, oh shit, this is horrible, because we had been planning this wedding. We were excited for this wedding. This was going to be the moment. This was what we finally wanted. After years and years, whether you approved of Catwoman or not, if you love Batman, you get to see Batman happy. You get to see Batman getting something that he wants. And Tom King ruined all that.
It would have changed the status quo for Batman. And as we mentioned, I'm not in favor of the wedding, but I'm upset that the wedding did not happen. And there's several reasons for that. Like, of course, I prefer Talia al Ghul and Batman to forever be together. And instead, it's like, all right, we're getting this wedding. And as I've said before, like, these issues in Tom King's run have been excellent. Batman number 50 is overall worth your money. Yes, it is worth your dollar. The thing that upsets me is that they had been building this issue up to be the wedding issue. They put out this soundtrack that you can download, and that's the wedding soundtrack that they personally picked. They did it for Dark Knight's Metal as well. They did the many one-shots of Prelude to the Weddings, and they told retailers, we're going to do a ton of retailer-exclusive variants. If you order X thousand amount of copies of this issue, that will be the wedding issue. Then you get your exclusive personal store variant, which our store ended up going for. And then we actually had plans to do cutouts of Batman and Catwoman so that you can come in dressed and take pictures of the happy couple. You were about to make cupcakes. And this is the only reason why I spoiled it ahead of time for you, because otherwise I would have just let you read it. I wouldn't have done that to you and take that away. But you were going to make these wedding cupcakes. And we immediately canceled all wedding celebrations because of the New York Times. How's a shop going to look if they make up their shop as this wedding thing, and then the wedding issue does not happen? The wedding does not happen. We look like fucking schmucks. We look like we were misleading you as we were misled as well, up until we found out. And we found out at the same time as everyone else. It's not like if we got these months ahead of time, I would have cut down my orders on Batman number 50.
Significantly.
Because otherwise, Batman 50 is an issue that you can sell forever. If you have copies of the Batman or the Spider-Man wedding with him and Mary Jane from years ago, that's a forever seller book. That's something you can always sell. And that's what this was going to be. Yeah, I'll have extra copies of the first print of that time that Batman and Catwoman ended up getting married. Well, after final order cutoffs went through, oh shit, they're not going to get married after all. Tom King on fucking Twitter, like, oh, I'm sad that they leaked it that early. It's like, Tom, this is also irresponsible of you.
Right.
Because you said that this was going to be a 100 issue story, because that's his contract. He's under contract for like 96 issues, but he would have they extended him to 100, because why not write issue 100? And so I'm thinking, all right, so Batman issue number 50, they get married, and then we get 50 issues of married life, and then by the end of it, they end up separating. That's what we both agreed was going to happen, because obviously he's not going to stay married. And instead, we got Tom saying, remember, guys, my story is 100 issues long. That's what this story of Batman and Catwoman is. It's a study of their relationship. So that, there's still 50 more issues. And a lot of readers went, I'm sorry, we're not going to wait another 50 issues for a wedding that now may or may not happen in issue 100. And as I told them, or issue 75. Like, this was your chance. This was it. Not only did you not deliver, like, this would have been you essentially blowing your load. It would have been, you should have, if this was your plan, you should have stretched it or made other stories or waited until issue 100 or 75 to instead say, no, they're not going to get married because she was influenced and she got tricked, and eventually she'll come to realization and maybe they'll get married in issue 75 or 100. By then, readers won't give a shit.
No.
By then, speaking as a retailer, I'm not going to trust you now. Like, is this really the fucking wedding issue? And the excitement is not going to be as strong the second time around, because now readers are like, oh yeah, they had that excitement the first time. And even though this is like, we promised this time it's going to happen, it's not the fucking the same. You fucked it up. You fucking ruined it.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what I feel hurt most of all, because it's like, okay, you broke my trust. And for another 50 issues, you're talking 2 years. Who's gonna sit around for the same story for 2 years? You're gonna lose a whole bunch of people. It was the perfect time. So the big reveal in this, again, spoilers, is that Bane's kind of behind the whole thing, and he says, oh, now the bat is really broken.
Sure.
You could have still had them get married and then have the fallout of both of them realizing that he's not really Batman when he's in this relationship, and they have to come to this mutual, very heartbreaking understanding that they can't be together, and now you have readers crying. You could still have her friend planting all this doubt as Bane nobody gives a fuck about Bane anymore, but whatever.
Again, he's brought back fucking Bane.
Right.
We had that finished already, dude.
But you throw him in there as trying to still break them up the whole time, to break Batman, and now he's at this low point because he's not happy anymore, and Batman's broken, and and now we get 15 more issues of them coming to terms with the end of this relationship and him destroying Bane again. There you go. Do it that way. Don't get to this huge moment. Not advertising won't they?
Didn't even say that, right?
It was, this is the greatest wedding issue. We got this great wedding dress. We have all these great variants. We have all these things. Oh, by the way, doesn't happen.
Irresponsible. Again, irre-fucking-sponsible. That's, I think, what upset me the most. It's like, yeah, the comics twists happen all the time, right?
Right.
But this is a straight bait and switch. Like, this is borderline false advertisement. It's been done in comics in the past, but not like this. Not in this malicious, uncaring, irresponsible. That's the word right there. It is irresponsible the way they ended up doing these. It's like, unless this was the wedding, why push for all these fucking exclusives? Why not wait until the actual wedding issue? Like, what are you guys fucking doing? And a lot of people are mad about the New York Times thing, and it's like, that I understand why the story broke when it did. Their reasoning was these comics are already in warehouses. People like Bleeding Cool and Newsarama have a lot of story writers that look out for those issues, go to those warehouses early and try to find the story that breaks so that they can put it out there early and get the clicks. So DC came out and said, we wanted to make sure that this deal that we had with New York Times, that they benefit from the clicks first. So we told them, all right, now you can go ahead and bleed it out early. But what ended up happening is, for our company, for example, there were a lot of other retailers that were buying retailer incentives from us, and there were trades going on and all that stuff. And instead, they canceled like the morning of that story breaking, because it's like, no, this is not the wedding issue. Like, why should they get any of these exclusives? So now I've tweeted out to Tom King, DC, and Dan DiDio, and I told them, you guys better make Batman number 50 returnable, Batman 51, because FOC already went through final order cutoffs and people have been dropping Batman, Catwoman number 1, which spins straight out of the fucking wedding, and all of the prelude to the wedding one-shots, because those I also counted to sell when the wedding issue came through. Like, hey, you're getting Batman 50, hey, don't forget about these prelude issues that are also right here. That is what fucked us over. So they need to make all of those comics returnable, because otherwise, like, this is some very, very ill intent from publisher to retailer, and DC had been killing it. It's like, what are you guys fucking doing? Like, I've angrily even tweeted out to Tom King. He's got the new miniseries called Heroes in Crisis issues. There's going to be 7 issues total, and it is all about superheroes dealing with PTSD, and he's using his experience as a ex-CIA, what do you call it, worker, agent, whatever, and seeing like how superheroes deal with PTSD, because they see fucked up shit all the time. And my fucking joke tweet was, Issue 7 of Heroes in Crisis. Just kidding. They're not really in crisis, but this is actually a 14-issue story, so be sure to tune in for Heroes in Crisis Volume 2, issue number 8, because no one can spoil that. It's like, what is this all it's going to be now, Tom King? Is Mr. Miracle all a fever dream? It's like, well, what the fuck is going on with the writing and the irresponsibility that he has? It's like, he could only blame DC so much. He, as a writer, had to tell this fucking story.
Me being who I am, I'm trying to look at the bigger picture. What they did was really shitty. I'm hoping that his story is well thought out, and by the end of it, we say, yes, looking back, besides all our anger, that was a very well told story. At the end of the day, some of that falls on him because they were doing all this marketing, and he should have been responsible enough to say, you guys are not marketing this correctly. We're going to make people angry because what you're promising is not what they're going to get.
Exactly.
And he didn't do that. And he can say all day long, oh, it wasn't my fault. I didn't have that kind of power. He still could have said something.
And maybe he did, but that's something that one of my subs also brought up, and it's like, he's Tom King, like, how much pull does he have? He has one of the best-selling comics of DC, which is Batman. He has Mr. Miracle, which is also a very unexpectedly well-sold book. And now he's got Heroes in Crisis coming up, and he said, well, yeah, he can't breach contract. It's like, he can still say enough, do enough to where he's like, I'm not going to sign on again if this is how we're going to market this.
Right.
And he can say, look at my sales right now. This is how much I'm selling Batman. This is what I'm selling Mr. Miracle. This is how many pre-orders we have for Heroes in Crisis. I will not sign back on if this is how you guys are going to market my shit every time we do this. That's what he could have done, and that would have fucking worked. I guarantee you. And especially with the way he's been talking on Twitter, he's been very defensive of like, hey, come on, guys. It's like, now the issue is out. Read it for yourself. It's like, this is not, you're missing the fucking picture, man. You also have to push for this retailer returnability and you still have to stand behind what you did. This was the fucking time to do it. Like, not later on. That's a fault as a fucking writer. That's not reading ahead enough. That's not looking into, like, what if I end up doing a falsity and then it's like, but I can do it later and it'll be fine. No, it won't be fine. You better fucking do it now and adjust your story if your story is to have them married.
We could go on all day about the things that we disliked about this, because there's a lot of things that were wrong with it. There were a lot of things that we disliked about it, and I think the majority of people feel that way, which is very unfortunate, because at the end of the day, it was a well-written issue. But because of all the hype behind it, because of everything they told us that was going to happen that didn't happen, it is very heartbreaking. I am with Batman, and I cannot turn my pain into saving a city. I just turn it into rage.
So what do you think of we talked about the issue, right? Does the comic industry have a spoiler problem?
Yes, absolutely. Everything has a spoiler problem. The internet's there. Everything can be spoiled. But again, this wouldn't have been a problem if they hadn't marketed it the way that they did. So I understand why they gave the story out early, why they wanted to get ahead of Bleeding Cool, and I don't have a problem with that. Go ahead and get ahead of things being spoiled unnecessarily, because I'm assuming in the New York's Time issue, you knew it was going to be spoiled ahead of time, right?
Yes.
Whereas with Bleeding Cool, they just go, oh, here it is, it's in the headline, like, this is what happens, and then we all get pissed off because it was unnecessarily spoiled. So that I don't have a problem with, but they just marketed it wrong. It'd be like, okay, you're gonna get this new Jurassic Park movie with all these dinosaurs. Oh, but there's no dinosaurs.
Right.
That's exactly what it is.
And I know, like, some people have pointed out, and it's something we haven't talked about yet, is the fact that Thomas Wayne is at Bane's side. It's like, oh, look, like, maybe Flashpoint Batman, who didn't want him to be Batman, as we learned in the button, like, he's helping Bane. It's like, I don't care anymore. Like, I really don't give a shit. Like, this is not story enough for me to be like, oh, well, all right. It's like, obviously, we're going to stay subbed on Batman Detective Comics because we love the character. He's our favorite superhero. But it's like, how begrudgingly untrusting are we now with Tom King and the rest of his stories? Like, we've read Mr. Miracle, which is excellent. It's like, how much respect have we lost, not only for Tom King, but also for the marketing team behind this issue? It's not worth that.
Right.
And DC's Senior Vice President of Sales, John Cunningham, addressed a few days ago fans and retailer concerns over the story and outcome through a retailer Facebook group, where he said, quote, DC sales strongly advocated getting the news out ahead of the OSD, so that the moments of realization did not occur hours before the events began. We even did our level best to try and spoil it here on this page over and over again and failed. The New York Times article was posted here at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, not out of pride, please, but to get you the information as soon as we could. In the abstract, we believe the news would break on Monday morning given the arrival time of physical copies in store and the reality that a copy or a scan would end up being passed to uncontrolled comic book outlets, much like Marvel's wedding issue last week and every other major comic book event in the last decade. As mentioned here before, any discussion about financial remedies for problematic DC product must occur after the product is on sale. I stand by my belief that Batman number 50 is one of the best single-issue periodicals of the last decade. That is a special moment in comic book history. And that if it's not the book we think we want, it's the book we need. End quote.
Stop quoting movies, sir.
Yeah. It's a dark night up in here.
Yeah.
Dan DeDeal said the same thing. He's like, well, let's wait to see what sales are first. It's like, no, make it returnable now and stop pissing off retailers.
Yeah, and that's exactly the retailers and readers. Like, you've made all of us angry, and it will be very interesting for me to see what sales are for 51 because I can guarantee it will be significantly lower than if they had just had the wedding happen.
I had a paper cut from handling all of these issues of Batman number 50, nasty one, right here on the webbing between my thumb and my index finger. Mm-hmm. And that stings like crazy when I wash my hands. It doesn't sting as much as when I look at those unsold copies in a month.
Uh-huh.
Unfucking believable.
Hopefully you can return them. If you guys were outraged by this issue, or if you really loved it, let us know what you think on Twitter, @ReasonsI'mBroke, @PalpaKelly.
On SpeakPipe.
But also push for this to be returnable for retailers.
Right. As we mentioned earlier, DC is allowing 100% co-op claims for retailers who are up to date with their bills for any advertisement-related costs associated to the promotion of Batman number 50. This includes print, TV, and web advertisement, as well as talent appearances and bakery/food goods. That's a start. It's a fucking start.
$4 on cupcakes, so.
Yeah, you did. But you were like, I'll just make them and we'll eat them. I was like, all right.
Someday I'll make them and we'll eat them.
There could still be free cupcakes, though. Like, DC could have paid for those cupcakes, Kelly.
Well, okay, then get my $4 back.
All right. I just need a receipt. Bank statement?
Yeah.
All right.
It just says Target.com on my bank statement.
Fine. It'll work. DC has yet to issue a formal apology for the spoiler. I guess I don't think they should. Mm-mm. The apology is making these issues returnable. Not just Batman 50. Again, 51, Catwoman number 1, mm-hmm. the retailer exclusive variants, and all of the prelude issues to the wedding. Make them returnable. Make things good. #release the wedding cut.
Is that what it is?
It's all about release the Snyder cut. I'm saying release the wedding cut. Like, fuck that shit. And I'm not saying, like, rewrite the issue and make it the wedding. I'm saying make those fucking things returnable. That's what my hashtag is about. Unbelievable still. That is our comic book highlight, though. It is. Are we as bad? Are we as toxic as those Star Wars fans? We
are not.
We should drive Tom King off social media. We should go after any minority artists and writers that are working for DC because they're to blame. Don't forget the females. No, that's we're like, this is just a fucking bait and switch that we are very upset about. Mm-hmm. And again, let us know on SpeakPipe or on Twitter.
But with that, we can wrap up our podcast for the week. A lot of things that we talked about. A lot of laughs that I had.
A lot of cries.
A lot of cries. I finished my cup of coffee. You got to hear little Leo for a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's always a highlight when he's on the show.
Always. Yeah, thank you so much, Brocat Core, for tuning in. And if you have already, for voting in to nominate us for the 2018 Podcast Awards under Games and Hobbies and People's Choice, we truly, truly appreciate it. And hopefully we do get there at the end of the month. But the campaign continues. If you have not yet voted to nominate us, please do. Head on over to podcastawards.com. Tell a friend about the show. And if they enjoy the show, they too can subscribe and hopefully nominate us for the 2018 Podcast Awards. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Daniel.
I'm Emperor Papa Kelly.
And Brocat Core, all will be well. See you next week.